Welcome, my friends. I hope your week has started out just beautifully. We are enjoying, as I say, from now till October, this beautiful summer weather. The sun is shining. It's humid. I'm not going to take away from that, but I'll take it over a snowstorm and cold, and it's just been great. Lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, so I hope you are making the most out of it. Today's video, I want to just go over a couple of ways that we can identify and that we can combat the fear of missing out. There's a new term going around, FOMO, fear of missing out. And though that term, FOMO, may be new, the negative impact of us thinking we're missing out on something is very, very real. And I just want to encourage you today and go over it with you and just give you some really good pointers, I hope. And then we're going to make an amazing, I know I use that word a lot, let's see, a delicious, mouth-watering, one pan, creamy, cheesy spinach ravioli. Big. One pan. Oh, so good. You're going to love it. So let's get right to this video. The first thing I need to do, though, is make a correction to last Friday's video. I gave you a tip about using Amazon Warehouse when you go to Amazon to find discounted prices. It's not Amazon Warehouse, not where I meant to send you. Where I meant to send you was Amazon Outlet. So when you go to Amazon, in that little search box, put in Amazon Outlet. Don't just put in outlet because you're going to get plug sockets. So you want to put in Amazon Outlet. And where I got warehouse from after I had posted the video, someone commented and said, I'm going to the warehouse and there's like nothing there and the prices are really high. So I typed in, I'm like, oh, it's outlet, not warehouse. So just a correction there. I did correct it over on the community page, but if you didn't see it, it's Amazon Outlet, and you will find some deep discounts over there. Okay, so let's talk about this fear of missing out. I want to give you the actual definition. Fear of missing out, a feeling of anxiety or insecurity over the possibility of missing out on something, as in an event or an opportunity. The definition starts out a feeling of anxiety. And I think that's one feeling that I could do without. That uneasy feeling that all is not right with the world, that anxiousness. Personally, I try to avoid that feeling whenever I can. I'm sure most of you do too. But unfortunately, on our day-to-day frugal journey, some of us can feel that fear of missing out as we watch our money and where it's being spent. Now, I know a lot of you have written to me saying how you don't care what others think. You really have it all together, and I give you kudos for that. I really do, and you are very, very blessed. But sometimes I know even us on our frugal journey, that fear of missing out can rear its ugly head. Fear of missing out on something doesn't necessarily mean an activity per se. It could be the feeling that you're missing out on someone else's possessions, on how much money someone else makes, on the car they drive, but it also could be where they vacation, that they're taking off every weekend and you're not. So there are a lot of ways that this fear can make us anxious, make us feel inadequate. The problem is with this is if we act on this fear of missing out. What do I mean? I mean that if you see someone going away every weekend, or you see someone with a brand new car, and then what happens is we try to compensate for this fear by purchasing what they purchased, or vacationing like they vacationed, or spending the way they spent. Even on a smaller scale, it could be detrimental to our frugal journey. Buying too many of a sale item because we're fearful that that sale may not come back again. Guilty. Like you see something and you're like, oh, this is such a great price. I really need to get it and stock up on it. And then what happens? It could go out of date. It could spoil. We don't feel like eating that particular item anymore. This is when we need to stop and tell ourselves and really sit with ourselves and talk to ourselves and tell ourselves that this activity or this possession that we fear that we don't have or we're not experiencing does not guarantee our happiness. That is the key phrase. There are no guarantees that if we buy that item or we take that vacation, that our happiness is guaranteed. Even though we may feel like we're missing out on something, that is not the truth. Frugality doesn't mean we don't have a fun life. Just the total opposite. Again, society is telling us that we are taking into consideration our finances before we take that experience or we buy that item. In no way does it mean we have a lesser quality of life. If anything, it's total opposite of that. That's just mainstream telling you to think that you have a lesser quality of life because you don't own those items. So not true. And don't buy into any of this. Fear of missing out can cause so much anxiety and unrest if we really let it. So what do we do to combat this? How do we, on a day-to-day basis, deal with this so that we have that peace, the peace that surpasses all understanding? First, I think we need to realize whatever that item is or that vacation, the happiness that it's going to give or the pleasure it's going to give is only going to be temporary. It's not going to be long lasting. It is something that will temporarily make us feel good about ourselves. But then in a couple days or when you come back, now I'm not talking a normal vacation that you saved for and you had a wonderful time. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a vacation you are taking, but you can't afford because you feel like the rest of the world is taking it. Or an item that you buy, guilty of the Instapot craze. Now that's definitely on a lesser level, but I bought that Instapot because everybody else was buying it. I don't like my Instapot, and I know it's great, and that's not where I'm going with this, but you get my example. So basically, once we purchase these items that we can't afford or don't really want, just to look good or act like someone else, it won't change our happiness level. In the long run, our happiness level will not change. A lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of discontentment for nothing. Basically, for absolutely nothing. What a waste. See, with frugality, we decide what's important. We figure out as individual or as a couple or as a family, what is important to you? And then that's where we go forward. That's where we then funnel our energy, our money, our finances, our talents. Because to us, these are meaningful experiences. These are possessions we may need, and we are being true to who we are. And we find this contentment through God, from nature, relationships, from within us. These are the things that are important. And that, my friends, will be happiness for the long haul. Do you see the difference? That fleeting 5 minutes of pleasure or a lifetime of happy, healthy, financial, emotional decisions. We look at the value of our purchases. On a frugal journey, we tend to really scrutinize what we spend our money on. And a good value, a good purchase, you come away and it gives you years of satisfaction. That's the difference. When we realize what's truly important, then that fear of missing out will start to diminish. It'll start to go away. Because you know why? Gratitude. Gratitude for what we have will just squash the head of that fear. That's what it will do. Being grateful, being thankful for what we have, there is no room at all for that fear of missing out on something. Because basically, what is important to us, we already have. We already own it. We already possess it. It's ours. And that is the ticket. So when you feel discouraged or when these feelings start creeping in, you got it covered. You've got it covered because you know who you are and you know what's important. And you know why you're on your journey. You know it, I know it, and each one is so personal. But there should be no room for that kind of anxiety in our lives. We don't need it, and it is completely unnecessary. It really is. When we begin to be thankful for every giggle, every hug, every Friday night movie on the couch, then we realize how blessed we really are and how thankful we really should be. FOMO is not existent. It has been defeated. So I hope this was encouraging to you. That spirit of gratitude, that's what we need to possess and hold on to. So we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna go into the kitchen and I am going to show you how to make a totally company-worthy one-pan meal. Let's get right to that. This is a gourmet meal that actually doesn't cost a lot, but it is company-worthy. It is creamy Italian ravioli, and it just starts with a bag of frozen ravioli. That's how simple this is. So the first thing I did was I took about a tablespoon of olive oil and I heated it in a pan, and now what I'm doing is just sauteing about 1/4 of an onion that I chopped, and I am going to saute this until it's translucent and soft. So the onions are looking pretty good. Now I took 1 clove of garlic, but you can do it to taste if you like a little bit more. And that's just some fresh garlic I just squeezed in my press. Just gonna let that cook a minute. We just wanna smell the garlic. We don't want it to brown. Like I always tell you, that will make it extremely bitter. I am lowering the heat way down. To the garlic and onions, I'm taking 1 cup of frozen spinach that I defrosted and squeezed the water out of. Now, if you have fresh spinach, that is great, but I had frozen and it's gonna work just perfectly. Just make sure you squeeze the water out once it's defrosted. And we're just going to saute this for about 30 seconds. I have a 1/2 cup of milk here, and that's just the leftover spinach floating around in it. Why not use the same measuring cup? And to that milk, I am going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And I'm just going to mix that together. Heat is on low. I'm going to take the milk and cornstarch, and I'm just going to add it right here. Give it a quick toss. And you can see it's thickening up. Make sure you turn your heat to low. We don't want to scald this. And now I have 1 cup of heavy cream. And now, let's even take it up a notch further, as you know I love to do. I'm going to take about a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. And we're just going to add that right to this. And whatever kind of Parmesan you have will work perfectly. It's just going to give it that beautiful Parmesan taste. Remain at low temperature, please. This is going to be so good. So we're just going to let this cook for a minute so you can see how delicious and creamy this is. At this point, you could add some sun-dried tomatoes. You could add mushrooms. You don't have to add anything. But what I am going to add is I'm just going to add some frozen broccoli florets to this, because I'm looking at the spinach and I think the spinach and broccoli will be great. And you know what this also does? It stretches the meal with delicious vegetables, because this is a pretty rich sauce, and adding the vegetables with that sauce is going to be just delicious. I think mushrooms would have been great in this, but you know who doesn't like mushrooms? And it's not me. Now I'm just going to take a 12-ounce package of frozen ravioli. Yes, they're frozen. You don't even have to cook them. How exciting is this meal? Is add the bag of ravioli. And now I'm going to just gently mix this together. Now what you would do at this point is put it in a greased baking dish. But my pan can go into the oven. Our temperature of the oven is 375 right now. We preheated it to that. Now I'm just going to take this. I'm not even going to cover it. I'm just gonna put it in just like this. And remember, the ravioli is frozen. And I'm gonna put it in, I'm gonna start at 10 minutes and we'll see how it's doing at 375. This cooked for 10 minutes. I took it out and now I'm giving it a good stir, and I am going to put it in for another 5 minutes. I want these raviolis to be soft, but you keep an eye on it. If you're using fresh ravioli, this will be done, no problem. But I used frozen. I'm gonna put it in for another 5 minutes, which would be a total of 15 minutes, just to make sure they're cooked all the way through and soft. This cooked, I would say 17 minutes at 375, and it smells amazing. I know I always say that, but this really smells good. If you're using a pot that is oven safe, just don't forget the handle is hot when you take this out. Like I said, you can do it in a casserole dish as well. Look at how good this is. You can pair it with some crusty bread on the side, a green salad with some tart vinaigrette dressing. Oh my goodness, this is the way to go. Super easy, one pan, delicious, frugal, perfect. We wish you buon appetito. All I can say, delicious. Delicious. That's, you know, it was so good. We enjoyed that meal so much. Now again, I just want to reiterate, if your pan that you're cooking on top of the stove with is not oven safe, please transfer that delicious medley of veggies and sauce and ravioli into a oven safe baking dish and cook it the same amount of time. Give it the stir. We hope this video was encouraging. We just want you guys to know that we think the world of you, that you are so awesome to us. We have the best subscribers ever, ever, ever. And we love the comments you leave us. Please know we answer each and every one of your comments. We appreciate you so much for spending this time with us. If you get a second, watch an ad. I know I ask you to do that, but it really does help us. So thank you. Please give this a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave me a comment with something that you are grateful for. Take a second, think of anything, leave me a comment, tell me what you are grateful for. We ask you to stay safe, we ask you to stay well, and until our next video, we wish you blessings. Bye-bye. We'll see you on Friday. Little baby, don't say